You're listening to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast for and by Rockies fans on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Thank you for joining us as we discuss all things baseball and Colorado Rockies. Hello and welcome to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast on Rocky Mountain Rooftop, a proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Evan Lang, and with me, as always, is Skyler Timmons. Skyler.
Howdy.
It's been a interesting first start of the season for the Rockies. We're about 2 weeks into the season. 9 games have been played. It has not all been pretty, but the most exciting thing probably we might as well roll right into is that we have finally seen the major league debut of Rockies' top prospect and top 30 MLB prospect, right-handed pitcher Chase Dollander, who made his big league debut today, day of recording, Sunday, April 6th. And Skyler, I know that you were watching the game as well. I was there at the game, and I really, really liked what I saw from Chase today.
Oh my! Oh, hooray!
That was everybody's reaction when they aired the news in the home opener last Friday. In an event that and it comes a lot quicker than maybe like the Rockies maybe anticipated, because they were figuring Austin Gomber was going to be back. But as such is the case, as we've all grown to expect, when it comes to the Rockies and injuries, they have no idea about timetables of guys coming back from injury.
Yeah, we had Gomber. He made one spring training start and then was sidelined due to the shoulder soreness, shoulder inflammation, where he was not getting his velocity up to where he needed it to be. And he was experiencing the pain there. He had one other start during spring training, but was sent to AAA Albuquerque. He started the season on the injured list for rehab. He opened the season for the Isotopes, and his velocity still wasn't there. I'll tell you that. I was watching that game, and his velo just wasn't up to where it normally is at. Like, he was throwing mid 80s on that fastball. Gomber unfortunately shut back down due to that shoulder pain, shoulder inflammation, and now there is not currently a timetable for his return. The Rockies say they're not overly concerned, but they don't know when he is going to be back. And unfortunately, that, I think, sped up the timetable for Chase Dollander to make his debut, because I don't know, Skyler, if you agree with me, but I was saying that Dollander probably could have made the opening day roster right out of camp.
Well, yeah, and we talked about it on here. We were fine with that, but it makes sense if you send him down to AAA and you want him to work on stuff there, which obviously there's things he still needs to work on as a young starter that he showed in spring training. But I think we had come to a consensus on this podcast. Like, we're fine either way. If he starts the season, great. If not, okay. He'll probably be up soon enough anyway.
I wasn't thrilled with it, but I was willing to make do with it. But then he makes just one AAA start, and it was a decent enough start. He had 5 strikeouts, wasn't super efficient, but had 4 innings, really only allowed, I think, 1 earned run. And then all of a sudden, bam, he's up here with the big league team, and he's making his first big league start. Corresponding move was that Bradley Blaylock was optioned back down to AAA Albuquerque. Just as an aside, I'm not super thrilled with how we handled Blaylock, where we brought him up after a very good spring training, said he's going to be our long relief guy, did not use him at all in that role, had him work some late single innings a couple times to start the season, and now he is optioned down to AAA Albuquerque. And also probably not the guy I would have chosen to option. Skyler, you and I were discussing this just yesterday, but maybe someone like Angel Chivillier or somebody who's not looked super sharp to start the season may have been a better choice.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. And it's those weird things where Blaylock has clearly shown he's better when he gets to start, and the Rockies just, like this is the case with many starters that they keep trying to turn into relievers. Some guys, it just doesn't work because they're just not they're more comfortable in the other setting. And I think Blaylock's one of those guys. That's what he showed in spring training. And so hopefully he gets to start down in AAA for the time being, and then works his way back up to where then he is used in that multi-inning role, like a 2-3 inning role instead of well, this game's already lost, so come in and pitch the 8th. Well, no, that's not where he's supposed to be pitching. But
instead of inexplicably trying to make Victor Vodnik and Jake Bird multi-inning guys.
yeah, who are now going to be your multi-inning guys since you don't have a long reliever in the bullpen. The ghost of Chris Russin strikes again.
Very, very strange. But ultimately, it does at least lead to the fortuitous news of Chase Dollander being called up, where number 32, maybe not the number I would have picked for him, but I'm kind of a uniform number snob. But, then we have Dollander making his debut all of a sudden. And overall, I think he had a pretty solid day. So, final game against the Sacramento Athletics here. Dollander goes 5 innings. He gives up 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, and did give up 2 home runs. Skyler, I was at the game this afternoon to watch Dollander pitch, and really nothing that I don't think out of the ordinary or unexpected in terms of Dollander. He did give up a decent chunk of loud contact, specifically those 2 home runs, but they didn't hurt him that bad. Pounded the strike zone, 6 strikeouts to just 1 walk, and gave up a lot of hits, gave up 7 hits. But at the end of the day, this is a young guy making his big league debut in a very difficult to pitch in ballpark. And the thing with Dollander is a lot of his pitches have movement. He's got a very strong arsenal of breaking pitches. His fastball's got some life to it. He has some pitches that don't traditionally work well at Coors Field. He's got a curveball. He's got a cutter. But he still got through the day and had a pretty strong debut, I think. And the big thing for me that impressed me was that he showed tremendous poise on the mound. He looked unflappable. He would give up a hit, give up a home run, and it's immediately back to business. He didn't look shook. He didn't look frustrated. He just kept dealing.
He looked a little frustrated after that first home run, but immediately shakes it off. Which, you're not supposed to, it's supposed to bother you when you give up hits and home runs. And, you can show it for a brief second, which he did.
Yeah, but then don't let it linger.
Exactly. And that's pretty much what he did. And then watched him. It's the things that we saw before, and this is no place to get tested. He gives up 2 home runs. That's not great. That's something that he's going to have to work on. It was the home run that he gave up quite a few home runs against major league hitters in spring training. And so that's the thing, probably why you'll be better off with the big league team right now to grow and develop, is so that he can learn how to get big league hitters out and continue to work on being more efficient and more, I guess, better command and control of usage of his pitches to get big league hitters out. Because in AAA and in the minors, like we saw, you can be inefficient and you can get away with just overpowering guys. You can't necessarily do that all the time as a big league starter, because you make a mistake, they're not going to miss that fastball that's up over the plate. No, a lot of the time they're going to pound that. They're going to pound a hanging breaking ball. A changeup that's left up a little too much. You're a little bit more predictable. You can be. Hitters are better at predicting what you're going to do at the big league level. So, he got that welcome. Ideally he would have thrown 7 shutout innings. But you look at that line, and for his big league debut, having never pitched at altitude, because he didn't get to start in Albuquerque, for his first big league debut at Coors Field, you look at that line, you're like, not terrible.
Yeah.
That's not bad for where he was at in the context of where he's pitching.
And it's against the team he's unenviable. It's an unenviable place to make your debut. I much would have preferred to have him make his debut, down in Tampa or in Philly, instead of at altitude on the first really sunny, warm day of the season here in Colorado, after a cold, snowy home opener and a still pretty frigid second game and first night game at Coors Field this season on Saturday. And honestly, though, the 2 home runs that he gave up weren't on terrible pitches. The first inning home run against Tyler Soderstrom was up and sort of in on the hands, just right at the edge of the strike zone there. And Soderstrom is a good hitter. He made good contact on
Mhm.
that. And then against Lawrence Butler, he had a fastball kind of in the middle of the zone, but pretty down low. Like, neither of those are awful pitches. It's not like he hung a curveball at the letters or anything
Yeah.
like that. It's the Athletics have a overall pretty solid lineup right now. There's a bunch of pretty good hitters on there, and two of their best hitters made loud contact against him and got those home runs.
Yeah. And so, but still, like you were saying, you'd prefer him to start on the road. Well, what better place? He's going to have to pitch there sometime. Might as well get it out of the way, gain that experience. And now he's like, okay, like I pitched at Coors Field. It wasn't as bad as maybe people thought it would be. No, it's still pretty decent. And for my first big league outing, not too shabby. Pat yourself on the back there, homie.
Yeah, he should definitely be proud of what he accomplished today. And he wasn't really inefficient either. In 5 innings, he threw 79 pitches. He probably could have gone another one, but with the degree of competition he was facing and the amount of contact he'd given up and the nerves, like, yeah, he looked unflappable, but you're still going to be pretty nervous up there. Then you're just going to have to deal with it. And I think both of us just paused here because we just got some breaking news right during recording.
Yeah.
Chase Dollander.
We'll finish our thoughts on Dollander and then dive into this.
Yeah. But Dollander was great. He overall looked sharp. He, like I said, he looked confident. He looked poised. I watched him and went, that's a big league pitcher right there.
Yeah. And you look at the preparation. I think Kevin Henry talked about this, where like he was kind of posting on social media, like, hey, kind of a hot take, but no, he's got the physical and he's got the stuff to be able to like physical and mentality to conquer Coors Field. And right through you hear about how he's been how his prep, like before and after games, and how he approaches starts, and he has that mentality of like, I'm just going to go out there and compete and try to win the game. He's got all the tools there to conquer Coors Field and be a really good pitcher for this organization, and hopefully then light the fire under this team where he can perform, and you really start in building around these young stars, these young players who can be stars and be those aircraft carriers that that they keep wanting, where he's the answer and not outside of that. So
yeah, this is a guy who you want him to potentially be the future ace of this rotation.
Mm-hmm. What is his next? What is his next start line up against?
That's a great question.
Let me see here. Let me check this. Off day tomorrow on Monday.
That was blindingly bright. Yeah, off day tomorrow. We've got a 3-game set against the Brewers where the rotation will reset. This is going to
next
put
Saturday
his
against
start.
San Diego.
Yep, the San Diego Padres in San Diego. And the Padres are off to a pretty darn good start this season. So that's another tough matchup.
Mm-hmm. But hey, you got to get them out of the way. Might as well. Good time to grow. Don't handle, and that's the thing. Don't handle these guys with little kid gloves. Like, yeah, roll them out there. Be bold and let these guys learn and grow.
He does not need to learn how to ride an airplane.
Yeah. It's not that hard. You sit on it.
And it goes. It's not like he's flying the plane.
Yeah.
It's not like he's up there with Hensley Mullins learning how to fly the plane.
He's not Hensley Mullins trying to fly the plane. But, oh, goodness. But yeah, no, really nice and impressive. And, no, all things considered, could have been better maybe, but obviously could have been a lot worse. Because how awful would it have been, Evan? He gets that start and he just gets lit up. 3 innings, gives up 8 runs and stuff. Struggles with his walks, but hey.
See, I didn't think that was going to happen. I mean, there's always a
but it's always in the back of your mind, like,
but
please just don't suck.
There was a little bit of a worry. I'm not going to lie. It's like, oh man, I'm rushing to get to the ballpark, and what if he gets absolutely lit up? And what are we going to do?
Because we're so used to now of a rookie being put in the worst situation for a debut, where he debuted and he went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, or the reliever comes in and he immediately gives up a grand slam type of thing. So all things considered, we can be happy with it.
Definitely. And, Dollander continues a trend that we have seen in this first week and a half, really first 2 sets of going through the rotation of the season, where the starters are going out there and doing basically everything they need to.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it just for a little bit here, but now we've been twice through the rotation now. So Kyle Freeland, Antonio Senzatela, Ryan Feltner, and German Marquez have all made 2 starts, and they've done pretty much everything they need to. The Rockies, at time of recording, have the second best starting pitching ERA in baseball at 2.61. Yesterday, it was just at 2.08 or something like that. And you look at that and you'd think that this was a much better team with a much better record when you're up there and your starters are doing everything that they need to. Kyle Freeland was flawless in his first start of the season. Senzatela's been pulling this Houdini act where he's given up a lot of contact and a lot of hits, but not getting really beat up with it. Feltner has got the one bad inning thing down to a T, where he will have like one not great inning, usually at the start of the game, and then settle into a really nice groove and pitch very well the rest of the season. And German's first start against the Phillies was really, really good for a guy who hadn't really started and pitched that much in the last 2 seasons. And really, the worst start of the bunch right now is probably German's second start on Saturday night, where he walked 6 batters. He was struggling with his grips, struggling with his command. It was cold. He does not do super well in the cold. But a lot of that, he hadn't really given up that much damage until the 6th inning. And I was not super pumped with the fact that they put him out there for a 6th inning when he had very clearly, in my opinion, sort of hit his wall. He should probably be done for the night. He's got all these walks. He's not commanding really well. You've got to go to the bullpen at this point. But even then, it was only still that he gave up 3 earned runs, 4 total runs, 3 earned. That's not bad at all.
Yeah. It's just the 6 walks.
Yeah.
And it helps getting bailed out by a triple play and several other double play type stuff.
Yeah, the Houdini act. He took a mention out of Antonio Senzatela's book for that.
Yeah, and Senzatela he's playing with fire.
Yeah,
let's just say that
absolutely not sustainable.
Just don't let him pitch against. Oh no, I think he's lined up to pitch against San Diego or Los Angeles. Oh no, skip him. Don't let him start against Los Angeles.
Yeah, he's going to get starts against the Brewers, who have a pretty solid offense, and the Dodgers, who are going to obliterate him, because the Houdini act is not going to work against that caliber of team.
Oh no, they jump on that first pitch fastball every time,
which is basically all he throws.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, there's a lot to be proud of in terms of the starting rotation. Pretty much everybody has gone 5 or so innings. We've got a couple quality starts. They're getting it done. And that's what's been so frustrating. And we'll talk about this, of course, a little bit later, is that Kyle Freeland especially, but everybody is going out there and doing exactly what they need to do. And they are getting no help from the bullpen, and they're getting no help from the offense.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you supposed to do? Like, you could pitch a perfect game, but you can't win if you don't score any runs.
Yeah. You can have all the pitching in the world, but if you can't score runs, the pitcher throwing the ball does not score runs for your team.
Yeah. Kyle Freeland, 3 earned runs in 12 2/3 innings. Ryan Feltner, 4 earned runs in 10 innings. Marquez, 3 earned runs in 11. And Senzatela, somehow, don't ask me how, 0 earned runs in 9 2/3 innings.
With how many hits given up?
19.
Yeesh.
19 hits. He's got a whip of 2.17 and a batting average against of 432.
Yeesh. Yeah, that's not sustainable, but it's fun while it lasts.
Oh, it's entertaining baseball at the very least. But yeah, kudos to Chase Dollander. Kudos to the Rockies starters. First 2 times through the rotation, they're all doing what needs to be done. They're getting the outs. They're avoiding the damage. A decent number of strikeouts, even. Like it's been good baseball to watch from the Rockies starting pitching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, refreshing to see at least, and you just hope that it can carry throughout the season. Like, I don't want us to be having the opposite conversation where the offense is doing great, but this pitching is garbage. No, I want some more consistency and balance between both sides of this conversation. And, pitching's always going to be off to a strong start. But once they start getting into, teams that are a little bit more warmed up here in this coming weekend, like when we get to the Dodgers, can the pitching we've seen recently, that they displayed against the Phillies, can they carry that against a team like the Dodgers? Next week from the 14th through the 16th, some of these better teams, that are, as we get further into season.
For me, what I think, and we'll close it up here after this, is the 2 guys who I'm not really worried about against these better teams right now is Kyle Freeland and surprisingly Herman, where Herman was facing a pretty good Philadelphia Phillies lineup and was making the clutch pitches where he needed to. And as he warms up, as the weather warms up and he starts settling into more of a groove, I'm actually not that worried. Mm-hmm. Really, like we mentioned, it sends a tale where once you start going against more quality opponents, the Houdini act does not work. You can't give up a 432 batting average against.
Yeah. But he pitches to contact. Like, you can't simply chalk up to, oh, well, he'll be good because the defense will take care of him. Like, they'll do their part, but like, give them a break. You can't put everything on them.
Yeah,
don't leave that. You need a bigger margin of error.
You've gotta have it balanced out, and especially when the Rockies defense has been good, but there's also been 2 sides to that coin where they've been really good and they've had some pretty ugly mistakes out there as well. For every triple play, you have someone airmailing a ball out into the outfield or something.
Mm-hmm.
How about that triple play, though? That was pretty cool.
It was neat.
First triple play since 2015.
Mm-hmm. 5th all time.
Beautiful, beautiful, just 5-4-3 right around the horn. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Shame we had to lose that game.
Indubitably.
Alrighty. Well, we are going to take a quick break here, and when we get back, more to talk about on the Colorado Rockies, including some interesting news. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Affected by Altitude with Evan and Skyler. And Skyler, for once, it's happening while we are recording. We have news of the breaking variety.
It's a rare occasion.
Colorado Rockies top outfield prospect and one of their most valuable hitters in AAA Albuquerque, Mr. Zac Veen, has been called up.
Can't wait for him to ride that pine.
They've got to start him. There's no excuse to call him up and have him not start.
Yeah,
the corresponding roster move, just for record-keeping sake, Jordan Beck has been optioned back down to AAA Albuquerque. I do think this is the best move. Beck, unfortunately, really struggling so far to start the season at the plate. He is just 3 for 20 with 8 strikeouts. He does have 3 walks, which is a decent number compared to the rest of the team, but he's just not making the hard contact that we need him to be. And his timing looks a little bit off. So sending him down to AAA Albuquerque, I do think is the right move.
Mm-hmm. Well, and yeah, we can dive into this. I'll have more thoughts on Beck in general first, but first, our reaction to Zac Veen.
Oh my! Oh, hooray!
It's good stuff. But yeah,
that's twice we've played that in one episode.
I know. There we go.
For non-sarcastic reasons.
Yes.
But it's just them rectifying a move that should have been done 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, of having Zac Veen on this roster, because there was absolutely no reason. No, there was understandable reasons to send him down, but as we've talked about here, there was, through a flurry of events, there was no reason he needed to get sent down when there was an opening in the outfield to carry him on the opening day roster. The irony is that they had said their decision, Evan, was that they viewed Jordan Beck as more big league ready, but he struggled in spring training, and he struggled last year when he got called up, and then he struggled the start of this year, whereas Veen had the hot spring, and then goes down to Albuquerque and continues being hot, and so why not ride the hot hand and bring him up? And so the mean Veen machine, number 13, I assume, is what he'll be wearing.
It's open. I see no reason not to give it to him.
So hopefully he'll get to wear his number 13. He wore it in spring training, so I assume that is his number. But awesome to have Veen up. I guess he did enough in those, basically a week of AAA games without Veen.
Veen played in 8 AAA games to start the season, including today. He is hitting 387, 472, 677. He's got 1 stolen base and 1 caught stealing. He's got 8 ribbies, 4 doubles, a triple, and a home run. And here's the thing is they said, well, he needs to cut down on strikeouts. Strikeouts were never really my big concern with Veen. And he immediately showed that off in the short amount of time he was with AAA Albuquerque. 4 walks, 6 strikeouts.
Yeah, when you looked at his strikeouts in camp, it was no different than anybody else on the team. And then they cited, well, he just hasn't had many at-bats in the minor leagues because of injuries, and he only hit 221 in Albuquerque last year.
Yeah, well, he was there for like a week and a half.
Yeah, he played 12 games and got there after a broken hand and all this stuff, or back issues or whatever, came back from injury. Those weren't concerns. The fact was he putting the ball in play when he did make contact? And was it getting for hits? Was he getting on base? And to start the season, that's what he was doing. And it's not like he was, kind of like Jordan Beck, who just surged there in AAA, or, where he's hitting a bunch of home runs and stuff. No, it's Veen just slapping the ball around, getting on base, driving in runs, doing all kinds of things. Just being himself at the plate, aggressive early in the count, and it's working out for him. It's that hot hand that you gotta ride with.
And it really is, like you said, this is rectifying a mistake where Veen should have been on this roster to start the season. And, I'm glad that they're doing it this quick, but right now we have to worry about, is he going to get the starts that he needs?
Yeah.
Because Jordan Beck had largely been kind of shunted to the side to start for guys like Mickey Moniak and Nick Martini and Sean Bouchard to start getting starts. And you've got to do the right thing here, which is Veen's got to start in one of those corners every day if he's going to be up here. And you can still have Mickey Moniak or whomever get starts, because right now I would assume that you platoon 2 guys based on handedness in right or left field in terms of Nick Martini and Mickey Moniak, and occasionally throw in Sean Bouchard there, Bretton Doyle in center, and then you've got to have Zac Veen in the other corner.
Yeah, because Sean Bouchard is weird spot, so you'll have 3 left-handed outfielders and then Sean Bouchard. So he'll kind of cycle between those 3, I guess, with those 3 in that right field spot, or mix and match and whatnot. But yeah, this is one of those opportunities like they were going to give to Beck. Last year when they called him up, you're going to be playing every day, and we're just going to let it roll. And that's what this team needs for a guy like Zac Veen. And maybe perhaps calling up Chase Dollander, they see how he performs. They're like, okay, maybe it's okay to call up.
Maybe we should embrace the youth movement like we said we were going to all off season.
Yeah, and so you hope maybe that is part of it, but you can have confidence where it doesn't. You can look at the minors stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you wish you had more service time in the minors, and now he's dealt with injuries. But you look at then what he did when he was healthy. How much more does another 500 at bats in the minors? How much does that truly afford him? An extra 150, 200 bats in the minors. It could be helpful, but what could even be even more helpful and something we've talked about, wouldn't it be more beneficial facing big league hitting now? If that's what the Rockies point where he struggled against big league pitchers in spring training. Well, yeah, he's not going to get that in AAA. There's a reason those guys aren't in the big leagues right now. Because they belong in AAA.
Unless they're rehabbing. And he did get to face, I forget who it was, some A's pitcher was rehabbing down there at the very start of the season, and Veen did fine against him. But you really just can't let this opportunity go to waste. This is a tremendous step in the right direction for this organization.
Yeah. If
you do it correctly, and that is you give Zac Veen, he is the starter. He is a starter, and you cannot platoon him, and you cannot do otherwise. He's got to be out there every day, learning and growing. And it stinks that I'm not super confident in this coaching staff's ability to make good on what that need is, because we were saying from the very beginning from the beginning of spring training or the beginning of the season that it should be Zac Veen in one of those starting spots.
Yeah. Especially Nolan Jones is gone. Wide open to put Zac Veen in there. And they didn't do it because they cited all these other reasons, which things they cited made sense before you traded away your starting left fielder and then planned to plug it with a 34-year-old journeyman outfielder and a 29-year-old platoon bat off your bench, and then randomly signing a former number 1 pick who was cast off by the Angels, who's never quite made good on his pedigree as a draft pick.
And you know what? I'm fine with Mickey Moniak because he's only 26. He does have that former first-round pedigree, and I would love to see what he can do. But the problem is, when there are so many other guys in this outfield right now, like if it was just Mickey Moniak in one of the other corners and then Veen and then Doyle, zero problems. I'm happy. But because we've got Nick Martini out here, and credit where credit's due, Nick Martini's having a pretty good start to his season so far. One of the better Rockies hitters. He's hit in most of the games he's been in so far. That's great. But he's a 34-year-old, 35-year-old journeyman who shouldn't have been in a starting role to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to keep him on the team, which I'm not against, then you've got to make the smart decision, which is pull it back and you either platoon him and Mickey Moniak, or you make a dedicated decision of, okay, then Nick Martini is our dedicated fourth outfielder.
Yeah.
And that maybe means that you've got to let someone like Sean Bouchard go.
Well, yeah, but then it's hard because you can't really platoon Moniak and Martini because they're both left-handed hitters. And so it'd be one or the other and then Bouchard. So you can get a platoon that way. But
I suppose what I more mean is, like, you can rotate Martini and Moniak where they need to be. Like, if you want Martini in the lineup, then you can have Veen out in the other field. And if you want to say move Veen over to right field and you get Moniak in left, you can swap things around to make that work, so long as you are making it work. But you can't have as many outfielders as we do right now. And I'll also credit where it's due that they haven't had Tyler Freeman playing in the outfield when he's playing. He's the
knock on wood. Knock on wood.
I know. Let's not give him any ideas, but there's a reasonable lineup buried in there that you want to see this team move forward with, where the infield is pretty much set. You've got all your guys. That's done. Drew Romo is, out for the foreseeable future with a broken finger. So your catching platoon of Goodman and Stallings is set. And for what it's worth, the Rockies have done good with Hunter Goodman is the starting catcher. The young guy is the starting catcher. Great. He's been the lineup every game so far this season. Love it. But now you need to let the rest of the pieces fall where they are. And for me, that's Veen is an everyday starter, and then Moniak or somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot keep throwing Nick Martini out there on a daily basis. And you've just got to figure it out. You've got to make it work where Veen is starting every day. And I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, because how many times have I said in the last 10 minutes, you've got to have Zac Veen starting every day, but you've got to have Zac Veen starting every day. He's Zac Veen.
Best I can do is 2 days a week.
That's not good enough.
Well, he has to learn how to ride a bus, Evan, and has to understand how to get onto a plane, how to hang his jersey up in a locker,
how to properly identify a pontoon boat.
Yeah, has to learn how to walk on a big league field. Kind of all these other arbitrary things that Bud Black
Nick
thinks
Martini has to teach him how to lace his cleats the big league way.
It's true. He's got to learn how to shower the big league way. He's got to learn how to wipe the big league way.
He's got to learn how to chew the big league way.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there's a product for that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just exciting to see him up, and hopefully, when they take the field on Tuesday against Milwaukee, we can look at the lineup and it says Zac Veen left field, and we can be like, all right, because he added center field to was playing center field down mostly in AAA in those 8 games, so he was working on that. So it'll be good. He's got the tools, and hopefully he can bring some excitement, bring a spark that this team needs. Because Evan, he gets on base, bottom of the, I assume he'd probably be batting 9th. He gets on base, and then gets free reign to run, steals a base, and then boom, Brenton Doyle then base hit knock, RBI, and he's just helped generate a run and stuff. So just let him be himself, and don't try to micromanage him at the big league level.
Yeah,
there's a reason he's getting called up for who he is, not for something that they then feel like they need to develop him into as a person, his personality and everything.
Yeah, and I want to see him be a shot of energy, a breath of fresh air into this organization, into this clubhouse, because you know what? It's really not felt like there's a great energy in the clubhouse to start this season. And I know that losing a bunch of games to start is not how anybody wants to, start the season. But now you've got 2 very young, very exciting players in that clubhouse who both ooze personality in terms of Chase Dollander and Zac Veen, and you've got to let that flourish.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the one other thing you have to worry about is you hope that they don't try to beat those guys down. That's not how we play at the big league level. You can take that garbage and stick it someplace with that kind of mentality. No, let the kids play. Bud Black, this is the new generation of baseball players, and get with the program. No, he can be happy about it. And there's some maturity that has to go into things. And don't act like a dill hole when you're on the field, but you can still have your personality, let it shine, and be excited and energetic, all those things that make Zac Veen who he is. Let him have his purple hair if he wants to have that, because I assume that's probably what happened in spring training. They're like, you probably shouldn't have that right now.
Yeah, I that is how I felt when they chose to option him. Was this is the kid with big emotions and purple hair, and they don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
epic bat flips and then apologizes to the pitcher because he accidentally threw it towards him.
Yeah, but I love that kind of big energy. Like Chase Dollander, he got himself out of a jam with a strikeout, and you watch him walking off the mound, and he literally roared.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's the kind of energy that I want from these young guys. I don't want us to crush it out of them.
Yeah, and it's you look at Zac Veen, maybe stuff that he does. I don't feel like anything is ever intentionally directed towards a pitcher or an opponent. If he's going to pimp a home run, it is probably not meant anything to try and disrespect the pitcher or anything. It's just who he is. Players play with emotion. That's the way the game should be. That's how sports are. No, we don't need to all have this neck and tie. There's a difference between being excited and energetic and just being an a-hole to everybody on the field. Like, there is a difference between the two in the way you carry yourself and react to things. Is Efrion being a big giant butthole to people because he leaps up in the air? No. Because he's just being himself, having fun. And it's the same with Zac Veen. Are there other players in the big leagues that have been big old jerk to people on the field with the things they do? Absolutely. And so you got to learn to understand and notice the difference between the two. I don't see that with Zac Veen.
Yeah, me neither. And for Veen, I'm excited. And now part of me is wondering if I can find a way to manage to get out there on Tuesday. Because I bought my ticket last minute and I rushed down to the stadium this morning to go see Chase Dollander, and it was well worth my time and effort.
There you go. Veeny Martini.
And itsy bitsy teeny Veeny.
Yellow polka dot martini.
I was trying to mix in some kind of like cocktail reference, but I couldn't come up with it fast enough.
But yeah, it's just exciting. Good for him.
Yeah, this team, these moves, both Dollander and Veen could have been made a few weeks ago, but they are the right moves now, especially with a Rockies offense that have been scuffling and lacking energy, and they kind of let it out of the tank today, but overall the offense just hasn't been that good.
Yeah, and we'll probably dive into that more.
I think we will right after this break, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Affected by Altitude with Evan and Skyler. And for those of you listening to the video version where I don't necessarily cut out the little in-between breaks.
You don't edit the video? What are you doing?
I mean, I edit the video, but I don't necessarily cut out the breaks because usually...
Oh, I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
See, I usually leave them because we're usually making some kind of goof or something.
No, never. They have to pay extra for that.
So sign up for our Patreon that doesn't exist. But hey, if you'd give us money in a Patreon, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, if you would give us money to pay for this garbage.
Don't call it garbage. This is a quality product right here. This is, if I do say so myself, one of the best Colorado Rockies podcasts out there.
It is definitely one of them.
One of the Colorado Rockies podcasts of all time. Hey, we're perfect for this team. That's the main takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
But
we're going to start bringing in some veterans to do this podcast.
I can ask for Nick Martini.
Yeah, him and Jake Cave are going to start hosting this podcast.
Well, Jake Cave might be difficult because of the time difference. Now he's out in Korea, but yeah. Nick Martini should be available.
Hey, we can get Jerkson Profar. I'm sure he's not doing anything right now.
Whoa.
Hey-o. Don't do drugs.
I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. I don't want to say I told you so, but I had a feeling pretty much all of last season where he magically went from statistically one of the least valuable players in all of baseball to an all-star to potential MVP votes. Everybody's talking about him. That is not something that happens overnight like that.
Mm-hmm. Or like sustained over the course of a year. Like you can have that resurgence over like a month or two.
Yeah, if you had like a pop of like, all right, for like the first month he was really good, but then he looks like Jerkson Profar. I'm like, all right.
Mm-hmm. Anyways.
But that's not what we're here to talk about.
Speaking of offense, though.
Speaking of offense, speaking of things that offend me, outside of today, in which the Rockies offense went off, first tacos of the year, first double-digit runs of the year, in a 12-5 victory over Oakland with Brenton Doyle's first home run of the year, multiple doubles. It was a great game. It was super fun. Ezekiel Tovar went 4 for 5 with 3 ribbies, and he hit 2 doubles. Lots and lots of fun. But outside of that, the Rockies' offense has been pretty bad.
Yeah, that one day doesn't erase the trend, the extremely troubling trend that they started the season with. That is a reason why they started the year 1-7.
Yeah, where in their first 6 games of the season, they only scored more than 2 runs twice.
Yes, they scored more than 3 runs once,
and that was in that finale against the Rays, and they still lost.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing, is they scored more than 2 runs. They did that, and they still lost. Like, they were, because of the offense, not because of the starting pitching, not even necessarily like, yeah, there were some bullpen implosions, but you can point directly to the offense and go, their complete inability to get things off the ground to start this season is the reason why we were pretty close to being off to one of the worst starts in franchise history, where the worst start in franchise history since last year was 2-8 through the first 10 games. And coming into today, we were 1-7.
Mm-hmm.
So now, thankfully, we can't have the worst. We can just tie it. But it's really been a lot of the stuff that we know to expect from the Rockies. The key thing has been strikeouts, where the Rockies have the 3rd most strikeouts in all of baseball at 98, and the team with the most is the Chicago Cubs at 100, and the Cubs have played 3 more games than the Rockies have.
Yeah, when it comes to like strikeout percentage, Rockies have pretty much the highest, or if not one of the highest after today's game, where they struck out 11 times in the series finale against the Athletics. So strikeout's still an issue. I think, Evan, they have 2 games where they haven't struck out more than 10 times?
I believe so, yes.
So 2 games where you haven't struck out more than 10 times, and then they don't draw many walks, just 3 walks on that series finale. No, the walks coming at a premium for them. They did have that one game where they had a good amount, but still, it's nowhere near where you want it to be, with one of the lowest walk rates in baseball.
Yeah, and didn't have their first home run for multiple games. And then the first person to hit the Rockies' first home run was Mickey Moniak, of all people. It's taken them a while to sort of get off the schneid and actually find out what they are doing. And really, the strikeouts have been tough to swallow. Michael Toglia, especially, is off to a very difficult start. 17 strikeouts in 35 at bats. He's just 5 for 35. He has no home runs. He has 2 doubles, and he's walked just twice. That is, I mean, it feels like we're not watching the same Michael Toglia that we saw last season. And maybe it's him being a slow starter, or maybe it's something to be concerned about.
Let's say we're seeing the same Michael Toglia that we saw almost
at the beginning of last season,
with minus the home runs. But yeah, no, after today's game, it did prove things. They now have the 3rd lowest strikeout or walk rate, and now the 2nd highest strikeout rate, which is below 30% now. And so it's still things, but weighted runs created plus, they bumped those up to Sunday's game has really skewed these numbers quite a bit all of a sudden, and like improved them in places.
Yeah, it is the outlier.
Like a day like this has swung so many things in an improved direction. Just goes to show how bad the first 8 games were, where just nothing was happening. And in terms of runs scored, they're still, they now have moved up to 28th in the league, Evan. They have surpassed Houston and Atlanta.
Which Atlanta off to an absolutely rancid start to start the year.
Yeah.
Like, they're having a tough time down there.
But those 12 runs, jump the Rockies up a good amount. Yeah, they were below 20 going into Sunday's finale.
Well, and it's frustrating because we're hating on the old men, but early returns, Kyle Farmer and Nick Martini have been pretty valuable, where Farmer is 8 for 22. He's only struck out 4 times. He's got 3 ribbies. He's got 3 doubles. Like, that's a pretty respectable line. Nick Martini's, 7 for 20, only 1 RBI, but he's also not striking out that much, and he's got 3 walks. It's it's sort of the rest of the team that's just really needing to find out where they're headed with this. And one of the more frustrating ones recently is Hunter Goodman, who got off to a very, very hot start at the beginning of the season here against the Rays and then against the Phillies, but then over his last 4 games only has 1 hit.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's one of those things where what we know about Hunter Goodman, when he does make contact, it's usually going to be an extra base hit. Most of his hits have gone for extra bases. The problem is when you know that about a player with his high leg kick, the game plan of how to pitch him becomes very apparent as time goes on. As pitchers understand, okay, this is what he's doing, this is what he's working with. The bigger sample size, you understand what will make him struggle. And so it's going to be pitches down in the zone that he can't elevate and get underneath. So it's going to be a lot of ground balls. It's going to be a lot of strikeouts because you're throwing him breaking balls, getting him to chase, other such things. And Hunter Goodman is not a patient hitter. 1 walk, Evan, this season, and 10 strikeouts now?
Yep.
So the more you learn the dangerous bat that he is, how do you combat that? Well, you make it where he can't really square up a ball by throwing it down in the zone. You're throwing him breaking balls, pitches that he's going to have a hard time squaring up and getting the timing on to barrel up. And we're seeing that now with the Phillies started to do it on April 3rd, and then the Athletics did a very good job pitching against Hunter Goodman.
Yeah. And, Goodman struck out a couple times today. He went fishing on a sweeper way out of the zone, way outside, 77 miles per hour, that he was never going to catch up to, even with his decent bat speed. He was never going to catch that. And that's the thing with Goodman is he's going to strike out a lot and he's going to make loud contact, but they pitched him really well. He popped up twice in today's game. He struck out twice in today's game. And for Goodman, what we really need to see is him work more on, I mean, this goes for everybody, but Goody especially, is pitch recognition. Because if he can even slightly improve at that, then that'll play. But until then, people are going to know how to get his number.
It's because we know he has the power. The strikeouts are there. It's learning how to just work a count more, so to speak, and be able to draw walks. And maybe not even necessarily drawing a walk, but it's learning how to avoid strikeouts.
Yeah.
And so it's working deeper into a count and things of that nature. That's what can take a hitter of Goodman's temperature, because we've seen how good he can be when he's on, but when he's not on, well, you see what happens. And no, he's a guy that's going to hit a lot of ground outs. I'm looking at pitches per plate appearance this season, 3.2, which is the lowest of his career thus far in the big leagues. Averages close to like 3.5 to 4. Right now it's 3.2 pitches per plate appearance. So it's seeing some more pitches. He's an aggressive hitter. That can be good, but it can also get you into a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
and so that's where I like to see him make that growth.
You can't have your aggression make you a liability.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's okay. Like, if he can do damage on those first couple pitches, or have the intent to do damage on the first pitch and realize, oh, never mind, that's down and away. That's a curveball. That's nowhere near where I want it. Let it go, type of thing. But like an 0-1, if you're seeing a fastball come in and it's strike one, your batting average goes down, like 200 points or like 150 points or something. Like, the odds in an 0-1 count, not great. And so Hunter Goodman, we know what he can do.
But and it really is
so much more he has to do.
It's the balls low in the zone, especially the breaking pitches that are hurting him.
Mm-hmm.
Both of his strikeouts were on breaking pitches down low, where he can't get underneath them and he can't drive them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, I love Hunter Goodman, or I like Hunter Goodman. I like what he can do at the plate, that potential. But there's so many times we've seen players of his caliber, we know the potential, but it just doesn't materialize. And that's what the challenge is for him this season, is prove, no, I can do it all. I can put it all together offensively and carry it. I'm not just going to get on a hot streak for a week, 2 weeks, because the same thing happened last season, Evan, where he got called back up, has immediately, has a hot streak, those couple weeks, and then he started to taper off and just not enough. And so I still need to see more from Hunter Goodman.
Yeah. And I give the Rockies the props that they are leaving him in the lineup.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he's in there every day is great. That is exactly what I want to see. But now it's his turn to start making good on that daily playing time.
Yeah. Same with Montero last year. Got the playing time, didn't do anything with it. Now he's playing in Japan.
And up to kind of a rough start is what I hear.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'll have to look that up and see how he's doing.
But kind of thing I wanted to back on was talking about like Kyle Farmer, of like, he's one of those veterans where we're like, yeah, why did they bring him in? No, and having him fill in at second base now in place of Tyro Estrada, who, yeah, it probably hurts not to have Tyro Estrada, but how much of a difference would Tyro Estrada be making on this offense in general? At the moment, maybe like reduce the strikeout numbers probably ever so slightly. But Kyle Farmer's holding his own, putting together some good swings. He's getting extra base hits. Nice, solid plate approach. Honestly, kind of reminds me of a Michael Kadire without the power, because he's just putting together these good little professional at bats, getting a double, putting the ball in play. Like, I'll never be mad about that if you bring in one of those veterans and he's doing that. Like, good on Kyle Farmer. I'm happy to see that for him.
And he's gonna get a couple home runs. He's driven some of these extra base hits of his with authority enough that he's gonna run into a couple.
He should have had one already, but no, Miguel Andujar couldn't pick it up from under the fence.
Well, that's a different kind of home run.
Hey, it's a home run nonetheless.
That's true. Stat sheet says it's a home run.
Yeah, you have to do some digging into Baseball Reference to know it was an inside the Parker.
But for Kyle Farmer, it's going to be really weird because Tyro's going to be back at some point. And then what do you do? Because this team is going to be crowded, where you've got Tyler Freeman, who you traded for. He has not played that much. He just got his first hit. He's getting on base every now and then. He's drawn some walks. He's been hit by a pitch, but he's 1 for 7. Like, and he's not really playing that much.
Yeah.
And so soon you're going to have 3 second basemen essentially. You've got Chris Bryant as the DH, who Chris Bryant, absolutely rotten start to the season, starting to pick things up now, but I'm not, convinced of it, because a lot of his hits are coming against lower velocity pitches, and I need to see him be consistent, because he was terrible for the first week and a half of the season.
He was terrible in spring training for several weeks.
Eventually, this team is going to have to make decisions about your Nick Martinis and your Kyle Farmers and your Sean Bouchards, your Tyler Estradas, your Tyler Freemans, because you can't have all of them.
You can sure dang try, though, Evan.
Oh, they're definitely trying.
Ankles can be shattered.
I don't know. It's really tough to decide. You never know what this team is thinking.
Yeah, that's the hard part, where, because say Zac Veen is still doing really good. He's doing really good, when a Tyro Estrada is about to come back. But a Jordan Beck is also doing really good in AAA at this point. And, Nick Martini, Sean Bouchard, and Mickey Moniak, they're all doing good as well. Like, best case scenario, everybody's doing well. What do you do?
Yeah.
If there's guys that are obviously struggling and not doing very well, yeah, it makes your decision a lot easier. But what if in our grand best case scenario, everybody's like contributing and doing their part and doing pretty well, where it's like, we're in a rhythm here, but how do we shuffle this around? Like,
yeah,
at some point, Chris Bryant has to be on a chop, and somebody has to be on the chopping block with that offense. And at some point, it has to be like a Sean Bouchard or a Chris Bryant or really anybody that's struggling.
Because really the only easy move right now is that Tyler Freeman has one option left.
Yeah.
But that still leaves a whole bunch of other people that you need to try and figure out how to shuffle around.
Yeah. No. Weird stuff.
It's going to be a weird season.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've already seen that so far.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's hopefully they can take the Sunday finale, use that momentum, and then carry it, have a good taste in their mouth, and they can carry it forward. They had 11 strikeouts, 3 walks, but they hit with guys on base, especially 7 for 13 with runners in scoring position. That's great. As opposed to that day when they went 1 for 15. Like, you got to get the clutch hits. They've had guys on base at times. It's then can you string together the hits? And that's something this team has not done to start the season, where a guy will get on first base, and then it's strikeout, pop out. So they'll get one guy on, and then it's just nothing afterwards. They can't pass the baton one another. And they did that on Sunday against the Athletics. They passed the baton. A guy would get on, then the next guy throw out a hit, and then the next guy, and then the next guy. And so that's what you need. It's a relay race, and the Rockies have been running out of sync to start the season. And hopefully Sunday is a good start for them.
Yeah. I mean, for the first 2 series and even into the Athletic series, the Rockies only had a handful, like 2 or 3 times where they had back-to-back hits.
Yeah.
And that's been the big problem is, we're getting base runners. Not a ton of them, but we're getting them. But the problem is we get the base runner and then don't do anything. Like the Rockies had plenty of base runners on their home opener and went 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah. No, on Saturday, load the bases, nobody out, ground ball double play, 1 run scores. Instead of Hunter Goodman running into one and either grand slam or you get a couple runs in. Instead, you get 1 and then 1 guy on base with 2 outs.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that every time you've got the bases loaded, you got to hit a grand slam, because that's not a reasonable expectation. But compare that to today, where they had the bases loaded a decent number of times, no grand slams, but a single here or a double there, and you've got people coming in.
Yeah. It makes a difference. Just get that clutch gene, and hopefully, like I said, Sunday can be the start of something good for him. Get some momentum.
Definitely. And with Zac Veen coming up, hopefully a sign of brighter things to come. Real question is, what are you going to do at second base? Because eventually it's going to be Ryan Ritter, Adael Amador, somebody's going to be knocking at the door.
Yeah, eventually. And somebody will get hit by a pitch again.
I hope not. I mean, that's not the way you want things to end for somebody.
No, but it always happens.
It does. There's going to be more injuries. The Rockies have made it through so far with not a ton of injuries, but it's only been 2 weeks, and it's a long season.
Yeah, they've already had their panic injury moving stuff to start the year, and now they're coming back from that. Oh, maybe we didn't need to panic and trade for Tyler Freeman after Tyler Estrada broke his hand.
Probably not.
Broke his wrist. Kyle Farmer's doing just fine. Oh, well.
That's the Rockies for you.
That's, as they say. Wait for it.
That happens. That's baseball.
Indeed. And whatever happens, you will always catch Skyler and I here reporting on your intrepid Colorado Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Affected by Altitude. Skyler, where can the folks find you at?
Find me over on Twitter at Skyler Timmons, or over on Blue Sky at stimmons13, .bsky.social. And you can find me writing Wednesday Rock Piles for purplerow.com, as well as the Thursday and Saturday game recaps. And then writing for Fans First Sports Network.com, where I also put up some recaps and other various news thingies.
And you can find me at EvanLang27 on Blue Sky. I would love to hear from you. Remember that you can always catch Rocky Mountain Rooftop on your favorite podcasting platform of choice, be that Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or the video version over on YouTube.com. You can catch Rocky Mountain Rooftop on all your favorite social media platforms of choice, including YouTube.com at Rocky Mountain Rooftop. That's at ROCKYMTN Rooftop. You can catch me writing the Monday Rock Piles over on purplerow.com. I also do the Monday game coverage and then the weekly Pebble reports every week as we get into the minor league season.
Nice.
Lots of goodies for you. Should be a fun week ahead. No game on Monday, but we're back at it on Tuesday with a 3-game set against the Milwaukee Brewers. And we should have a treat for you, hopefully going up on Wednesday. Skyler and I had the lovely opportunity to sit down with AAA Albuquerque Isotopes shortstop Ryan Ritter for an interview, and that'll be going up then. Absolute delight. Excited for you guys to see it.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Well, once again, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Affected by Altitude. We will see you next time. Skyler, hit him with it.
I was saying Boo Earns.
Boo Ryant.
Chris Boo Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Farewell. This has been Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast with Rocky Mountain Rooftop, a proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. Catch new episodes every Monday on wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Be sure to follow us on YouTube as well for video versions of the show.